Hello everyone and welcome back to the next episode of Art Side of Life, where I chat with inspiring artists and create various art-related videos. My name is Eva and my guest today is Isaac Orloff, and in this episode you will learn about his journey to animation in LA and what is his job in Dreamworks.
I've done a lot of texture work and some matte painting, and I'm starting to do some other things like color keys and other just general visual development work. I think on our team, we have our artists are very flexible in that we have to do a bunch of different things because we have a very small team. We work extremely fast.
Isaac is a visual development artist originally from New Jersey, now living and working in LA, California. He has worked on various television shows, games, and film projects throughout his career for Zynga, Storm 8, Marvel Animation, and Dreamworks. He's best known for his involvement in Sketch Dailies project, where he was bringing character design inspiration to artists all around the world on a daily basis. So please welcome Isaac Orlov, and let's get to the interview. Welcome everyone to the next episode of Art Side of Life, and I am super happy to have Isaac here. Hi!
Hello.
So please welcome, and let's just dive into your background story, and maybe you can share when was the first time you kind of decided, okay, I want to take this professionally.
Well, I'm one of the very few lucky people that kind of always knew that he was going to be an artist. I was raised in a family of artists. Both my parents were illustrators. So there was never really any doubt that I was going to do something art related. I think I didn't really know in what capacity I was going to do it, but I just kind of always assumed that art would be the trajectory that I followed. But I didn't know about my specific area of like kind of animation, entertainment design. I didn't really discover that until my junior year of college. Mm-hmm. So a little bit later than most people. I knew about art earlier, but my specific genre came much later.
Yeah, and you were growing up in California, right? So it was kind of all around you, right?
No, actually, I grew up in New Jersey, and then I went to school in Maryland, both on the East Coast of the United States, and then moved to California about 5 years ago.
Oh, nice. Yeah. So who kind of introduced you to the art path you wanted to do?
The internet.
Okay.
Basically looking at artists online, looking for inspiration through some projects for art school. Mm-hmm. I came up with a few artists. I think it was like Sam Nielsen and a lot of the Avalanche software guys like Brian Wood, Mel Milton, and seeing their work was like, oh my God, this is like the kind of illustration that I love. It has all the exaggeration and like the character and stuff. And it's like, well, what is this for? And then I realized like, oh my gosh, like there's this whole world of art that goes into entertainment design. I need to, go down this path. This is what I wanted to do. So I started out mimicking a lot of their stuff and kind of like just trying to see how they worked and trying to learn from that. And then slowly going down the rabbit hole of, animation art and games and all sorts of, different stuff that I had never even, my parents never told me about it and none of my teachers ever told me about it. So I just had to discover it on my own.
And so how was it right after school? What was your first job and maybe how did you fall into that?
My first job after school was waiting tables. It took a while for me to actually get my career off the ground. I waited tables for like a year and a half and then would take kind of like intermittent freelance jobs. I'd get little things like little character design jobs or things I would find off Craigslist or, I would email people all the time and just little things. But mostly like my core financial stability came from basically just having a day job. And that was for about a year and a half. And then I think I got a job at Zynga, which was my first full-time job. Zynga is a game company and they had a branch in Baltimore, Maryland, which is where I went to school. And I got that, I think, off a Facebook post.
Okay.
So I posted my art on Facebook and, someone who was a friend of a friend saw that their friend liked it and they're like, oh, what's this guy? And next they followed up with me and the rest was history.
So when you were still like waiting tables, did you like draw in the evenings or like how many hours a day did you like practice and maybe how did you approach actually the practice? Was it also like online schools or did you go to live drawing classes or how did you improve?
I did a lot of personal work, as much as I could. I mean, it's really tiring when you have a full-time job that's not creative. It takes a lot out of you a lot of times. So I would mostly draw in the evenings. I would have to wake up really early to go to work. I would come home in the afternoon and sleep till the evening, and then I would more often than not spend time in the evening up to like midnight or so, just working on my own personal work. Didn't do a lot of life drawing classes, but I would go and sketch from life. I would go around the neighborhoods and ride my bike around and sit down and draw and do little things like that. And I would paint from life sometimes as well.
Yeah, and so what is your kind of artistic weapon of choice now? Is it Photoshop or Illustrator or other like combinations of two softwares?
Right now, it's all Photoshop. I don't do much of anything else. There's other things I'd love to do. Like I have, a whole cart full of sketchbooks here next to me and a drawer full of other utensils that I'd like to try. I'd like to do some more painting, like actual painting, not digital painting. But I just haven't had the time lately, but hoping next year to shift back to doing a little bit more personal work.
So if you travel and go maybe to nature, then you want to do like a really traditional stuff like oils or pencils, or what would be your medium actually?
Yeah, probably if I was drawing from life, I'd probably want to give some traditional media a shot lately. When I'm in the studio, I really like working on my Cintiq. But when I'm outside, I try and like to use some like raw materials and things like that.
Yeah, and so what was actually the journey which got you to the big studio where you are now?
Well, it's a long journey. That's the kind of thing I could talk about for for hours.
So maybe like the biggest turning point.
I think the biggest turning point is when I realized I had to move to California, which is something that I realized on the later side. The fact is, if you want to work in animation, the odds are 95% that you have to move to California. And I think I went a little bit naively in with the presumption that I wouldn't have to move out here, and I could find some other path. But the reality is that pretty much all the roads go through Los Angeles. So I ended up coming through San Francisco, but now I'm in Los Angeles. So it has a gravitational pull that we cannot resist. Yeah.
And did you just move without the job, or then you moved and you look for stuff, or did you move with something else, or how did that work out for you?
I had a job at the game company Zynga in Baltimore, and they were in the process of shutting down that studio. And I managed to negotiate to get a transfer to their home base, which was in San Francisco. So I got out there. Luckily, with a job. I know it's really hard to get out here because the cost of living in California is so expensive. Unless you have a large amount of savings or family out here to stay with, it's very difficult to just up and move across the country, especially to a state that's as expensive as California. So I understand how difficult that is, but that was probably the biggest pivotal moment in my career.
And then afterwards, did you have to apply for internship in the studio, or did you know someone who recommended you there is like a open position where you are now, or how was the transition there?
I started at Zynga, the game company, and I started looking for work right away. I knew it wasn't a place that I wanted to stay long term. And from there, I went to a game company called Storm 8, which is another mobile game company. The way you get pretty much all studio jobs is by referrals. It's a lot about networking and who you know and just being really nice to people and being friends with people. Even my current job at Dreamworks, I got through a really good friend of mine, Linda, who was kind enough to recommend me for a position that was opening on her team. And that kind of got me in the door. And then the rest, you have to, it's not like a recommendation is going to be the sole reason you get a job, but having someone on the team that knows you is like the most important thing that you can have outside of a portfolio. So that's why it's really good to be in California and be around the studios and network and talk to people in person, because that's what's really going to get you from, stepping stone to stepping stone.
Definitely. And so like your daily job there, it's doing backgrounds or more props, or do you do character design, or what is kind of the core of your work?
Yeah, it's changing every day. At Dreamworks, I work on a show called Three Below, which is an animated television series. And I've done a lot of texture work and some matte painting. And I'm starting to do some other things like color keys and other just general visual development work. I think on our team, we have our artists are very flexible in that we have to do a bunch of different things because we have a very small team. We work extremely fast. I know some other teams are a little bit larger and people can have more specified roles. But for me, I'm doing like a little bit of everything right now.
Oh, that's quite cool. Yeah, because if you're around all other creatives, you can also learn different things on the job. So it's always progress, right?
Yeah, it's cool because games, especially mobile games, which is where I've come from, they really value generalists. Like they really want people that can do a little bit of everything, do a little bit of everything well, a little bit of modeling, animation, 2D. The more skills an artist has, the more valuable they are. And that kind of translates a little nicely to where I'm at now, in that I really need to know a lot about a bunch of different things in order to get my job done correctly instead of just doing one thing and that's it.
Yeah, definitely. And when you mentioned the networking, do you maybe have some tips like on which conventions to go or how to actually connect to people?
Yeah, I owe almost everything to CTN Expo. I know there's been a lot of drama lately over the cost of CTN Expo, and I think some changes have been made to alleviate that pressure on students financially. But I owe pretty much everything I know to that convention. I would go from the East Coast every year for 5 days. Even though the convention is only 3 days, I would take a couple days on either side to visit studios or just like hang out, meet people. And I would just talk to everyone from 8 a.m. to 2 in the morning. I would talk to anyone and everyone, and I would lose my voice completely by the third day. I could barely speak. But I would leave with lots of business cards and make a lot of friends. And that's basically the only way I ended up knowing anyone. That and the internet, of course. The internet is a great way to meet and get to know other artists.
And if someone is now thinking like, okay, I still haven't been there, but you were living in LA and like you already know some people. So if you go to CTN, you meet people who you met before. And if someone is like totally new, do you have like a recommendation? Like, okay, so should you just walk around the artist stands or go to workshops, or kind of what is the best way for you to meet new people and kind of talk to others?
Yeah, I mean, I'm in LA now, but I was, for the first 4 years or so, I think, I was coming from San Francisco, or 4 years, 3 years, I was coming from the East Coast, and I did not know anyone. I mean, I went there not knowing a single soul.
So it was the first time it was like totally new.
Yeah, it is literally the only reason I know so many people. You just talk to, the easiest people to talk to are the people whose booths you're at. Whose booth, like, so if you're visiting an artist booth, talk to them. Most artists are very friendly and willing to talk to you. Most are willing to look at portfolios, especially if you're respectful about when you ask for it and how you ask for it. So that's a really great way to get your artwork seen. But also when you're waiting in line, talk to people around you. People will introduce you to their friends in groups, find little things, like, oh, you like this, I like this too, what's your name, things like that. You can talk to anyone. I mean, everyone's there because we're all excited about the same stuff and we all come from a similar background in terms of our artistic interests. So you automatically have stuff in common with people. So it's probably one of the safest places to know that when you introduce yourself to someone, you're going to have something in common with them.
Yeah, that's actually true. And also, like, when you're waiting for the queue for portfolio review, as you mentioned, it's like kind of no one is going anywhere, no one is really rushing. So it's actually a good way to just, even when you're shy, right? So you're like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's important to not be pushy. I mean, people don't want to think that they're just a stepping stone for you, like another rung on the ladder while you're climbing up to make connections. People want to feel like you're genuinely interested in getting to know them. And if you talk to them as a person and, express genuine interest about who they are and what they're doing, not just shake their hand and shove a business card and run away, you really want to like make friends. And then once they start to recognize you, then give your business card and say like, hey, like maybe we'll connect sometime, or you follow them on Instagram or something like that.
Yeah, definitely. And then you can talk online and just see where that goes. And so do you have maybe also some experience with like, have you ever received like the best advice about maybe your portfolio and the worst advice, when you were going from games to like animation studio? Did you have to change the whole portfolio to adjust it before, or not really in your case?
So that's a two-part question. The first part was really good advice that I've gotten. one of the best critiques I ever had was one that I had right out of college. I spoke with Peter DeSev on the phone for about 30 minutes. And he gave me a really, really generous breakdown of my portfolio. Looking back on my portfolio, I completely cringe that's the work that he saw. But yeah, he spoke to me on the phone through he was a family connection, and he gave me a really strong critique. He gave me some advice saying for me to draw things how they really look and not how I know they look. I feel like I was taking a lot of shortcuts because I knew what a table looked like, and I didn't necessarily explore my designs to the fullest. And he saw that, and he pointed it out to me, and that kind of really inspired me to like really take the time to use reference and get the most out of my design work instead of just like rushing things to do things fast. And he gave me some other, that's the comment that kind of sticks out to me the most from that conversation. I think learning from people who are excelling in the field that you want to excel in is really important. Reaching out to artists online to get those moments of inspiration or asking for feedback will go a long way for you. Like you're going to get much more tailored feedback that will put you in the direction you want to go from someone who's following that path versus someone who is very talented but maybe has a different path than you. So that's the first part of the question. Second part of the question is I actually used none of my professional work in my portfolio to get into animation, which isn't going to be the case for everyone. But a lot of times when you're applying for a position in a production, they want to see that you're capable of doing the type of work that you will be doing for that production. It's not, they don't want to see that you can do A when they need you to do B. So for me, the work that I had accumulated from a lot of my professional jobs or my studio jobs wasn't up to the level that I felt would match the job that I was applying for. So I did a lot of work on my own to kind of raise the bar and show that I was capable of doing what they needed me to do.
Yeah. So how many pieces did you have like in the portfolio maybe when you were applying, if you couldn't use the professional stuff?
Yeah, I had a good amount. I think, they say like 10, 15 or something like that. But I think I probably had more because I had kind of like, when it's a website, it's a little bit easier because they can kind of click around and browse as they want. And also, it's been a while, like it's not like I'm fresh out of school and like I have a lot of stuff that's a little bit older that I like and I decided to keep because it shows range. So I have like a section on my website, I think, which is like sketches and another, which is like more finished painting. So they can, and it's pretty well organized. So I probably have a lot more than 10 to 15. But I don't feel like there's, I'm just putting things in there for the sake of putting things in there anymore.
Yeah, and so how does your normal day look like now when you have like a full-time job and you are trying to do also your personal stuff maybe on the side or everything? So do you have maybe also some daily ritual which kind of contributes to your success, like meditation or your nature trips or something like that?
Yeah. No meditation. I think it changes, I think my routine last year is very different than my routine this year. It's a lot of it is based on your situation, like what your commute is like, if you have a significant other that you're, living with. So, there's things that come and go that dictate your, how your schedule changes. I try and do things every day that I like to do. I think the thing that I have right now that thing is I ride my bike to and from work. And that would be the closest thing to meditation that I have. It's kind of like a release of energy. And when I leave, like whatever stress I have from work or just stresses of the day kind of get worked away by getting some physical activity and getting outside for a little bit, even though it's only like 30 minutes each way. It helps me considerably. And I don't do personal work every day, but I try and sit down at my computer at least a couple days a week. Whether that yields anything, is kind of a crapshoot. But that's something that I do as like a daily ritual. But doing things that make me happy and doing things that are the things that make me relax is like the most important thing you can do when it comes to like, getting yourself inspired.
Yeah, and so the inspiration and motivation then comes from the exercise, and also do you watch movies or read books? Like, do you have some recommendations in that area?
I do watch movies. A lot of times it's just whatever's on Netflix, whatever's on Netflix, or if someone makes a really good movie recommendation to me, then I'll watch that. Also, just animated shows and things like that. We have amazing shows like Game of Thrones and Breaking Bad, and like these like amazing. They're not even like mini series; they're just like full on television series, which are it's basically the new movie. So I spend a lot of time watching shows like that. But yeah, that's I do that a lot while I'm working. Listening to shows. But yeah, I don't have any specific recommendations of stuff that I really like that I find to be particularly inspiring. So sorry, I'm gonna come up empty on that one. Yeah.
So no books, like something which you would give as a like gift to maybe an artist. They're like, okay, this is something you cannot live without.
Yeah. Well, it depends on what everyone wants to do, and also there's the reality. It's kind of a sad reality, but the internet is taking over. A lot of material that you can find for inspiration is available online. So books are amazing. They're an amazing source of inspiration. But you can also find things, online just the same.
Yeah, that's true. But I still like to read, so I'm putting like the list of books which are kind of like a to-do list.
Yeah, I think in a future where my schedule is less packed, I would love to sit down with a good book and read. But a lot of times I love to read, like probably more mystery novels and things like that. Not necessarily about art.
And when you do traveling and the inspiration from that area, do you have like favorite places for inspiration, and do you translate maybe experiences to your illustrations?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of funny because I went through a little bit of a transformation about a year ago, maybe a little bit more than a year ago, where I found I was doing a lot of artwork based on what I thought people would want to see online. I'd be like, oh, like what would be really cool? Like I'll do like some robots or like some monsters, or I wouldn't necessarily draw the things I was interested in. And then at some point I was like, you know what? I think I just started realizing like I'm having trouble getting inspired. Maybe it's because I'm not drawing things that I love. So now I draw scenes from being outside in the mountains and the places that I wish I was, on a day-to-day. That's the stuff that I spend time putting into my illustrations. And I think it shows, and it gets me to sit down at my desk a lot more and actually do work that I'm excited about, instead of just kind of like struggling to find something that I think might get me a lot of Instagram likes, which is a trap that I think a lot of people fall into nowadays, doing things for popularity and not because they love them.
Yeah, because they want to be maybe discovered, and they just like want their Instagram accounts or whichever accounts like grow, right?
Yeah, but the reality is that if you do the work you love and you do it well, then the proper amount of attention and the attention from the right people will follow. It doesn't matter if you if you can do fan art really, really well. If that's not what you end up doing, like you'll get a huge audience of people who love fan art, but those might not be the people that are going to hire you to do camper illustrations or something like that.
Yeah, that's true. And so which are maybe the social media you would recommend to be on if you are looking for a professional job?
I mean, everything, to be honest. I mean, you should be putting your work anywhere and everywhere that you possibly can. Social media has changed a lot since I started looking for work. I started looking for work when Blogger was really big. So, we would all have our blog lists and things like that, our link lists, and, you just like follow the links and find different artists you like. But now it's all about Instagram. In another like 2 to 3 years, it might be something else. Instagram is, a lot of people are getting a little fed up with Instagram, with the new algorithm, and people's, different types of people that are saturating the Instagram experience. So there might be something new, but for right now, I'd say Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Make a Facebook page for your art. Have a website. It's a lot of work, getting your work out there, but they say like when you're a freelance artist, the work is getting the work. The actual work itself is fun.
Yeah, and do you also recommend maybe to have a ArtStation account, or is it enough?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I just made an ArtStation last year, and I actually made it right before I got my new job. So that might have been, something that contributed to getting my current employment.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, okay, interesting. And is there something you wish you knew before you started the whole artistic journey, like advice to young self?
Yeah. If you're going to go for something, give it your all. I think I put off the decision to move to California for a long time, and I wish I had done it sooner. It's scary to move away from everything that you know is comfortable and take big risks, but the reality is everything in your life is going to require some sacrifice. So if there's a sacrifice that you see on the horizon, which you will have to take, it's better to just take it now and get it over with because it'll end up getting you where you want to be a lot faster.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And was there some moment of your art career where you felt like lost if you like, okay, am I doing the right decision or am I on the right path?
I've had a couple moments like that. I had a moment, I mentioned, my very first career move was, or right out of college, I spent a lot of time waiting tables, and doing, jobs that weren't necessarily artistic related. I did that for about a year and a half, and I got my first in-studio job was a contract job at a company called Digital Kitchen in New York City. So I quit my job and went to New York, and I served out this contract on a show, or not a show, a commercial, which was for the Census Bureau, and it was a really cool animated commercial. My first time ever working in a studio, I was so excited. I was like, I'm finally going to make it. And then my contract ended, and I didn't have anywhere else to roll off to. And I didn't have any financial independence at that point. So I had to go back to the same restaurant and retake my job, which, there's nothing wrong with waiting tables or anything like that. I just knew it wasn't a path that I wanted to go on. And the longer I was there, the less of a chance I had of getting out. And that was a really hard time for me emotionally. That was pretty rough to kind of get a taste of what it's like and then get it yanked out from under you was hard. But I think there's always moments that are hard. I've had a lot of moments just not really knowing, what the right move is. Sometimes making the right move for a career makes you take large sacrifices in your personal life, and those moments can be very difficult to know the right path to go on. So I think you should always have those moments. If you're not having those moments, then you're probably getting a little stagnant.
Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, I was just wondering, okay, what would be the biggest takeaway from your experience? And it's like you're always trying to progress somewhere, and if nothing is really changing, or you feel like I don't know, then maybe you have to look at where it's too comfortable, right? Then maybe what's your path or goal?
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with being comfortable, though. Everyone has their own path, and I think while I'm still trying to figure out things for me, if you're in a place where you're happy, then that's okay. Just because you're happy doesn't mean you have to change something. That's
no, yeah, exactly.
That's silly,
yeah.
Yeah. So I don't want to give the impression that if you find a situation that works for you and you're in a job that you love and a place that you love, then there's anything to be improved upon, then that's wonderful, but you should just always, it's very easy to get complacent and settle for things that maybe aren't working for you. And there's no reason why you shouldn't try to fix those things. It's okay if it doesn't work out, but just being aware of the decisions that you're making and how they affect you long term is important.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I meant as well. So well said. Like when you are not happy at the place where you are now, and it's not really your life goal or your passion, right? Then you can search for things to change.
Yeah, but there's everything has a give and take. Like sometimes maybe something isn't your long-term goal, but it allows you to excel in another area of life that you wouldn't be able to if you were to pursue that long-term goal. Like some people want to live really close to family and see their family all the time. Like I now get to see my family only twice a year, which is pretty rough. It's not fun. So, but that's a sacrifice that I've had to make.
Yeah, definitely. And so if you think about a future project and 5 to 10 years, what would be maybe your dream scenario if you're thinking what would you love to work on, or maybe, the surroundings or other maybe personal project?
Oh man, I don't know. I got the job that I really wanted and I'm doing it right now. So thinking about what's in the future is a big question mark. I don't know where I want to go from here. I think geographically, there's other places I'd love to explore, like more in other places I'd love to live. So that might be something in the future where I shift the focus towards that, and then I choose something in my career that reflects my ability to live in that place. But I'm trying to just live in the present, and enjoy the job that I've been trying to get for a really long time, because I've got it now, and then we'll see what the future holds.
Oh, that's great. And so for example, as well, what about the far, far future? And I would also like to know, what would you like to be maybe remembered for? Have you thought about that?
Yeah, I saw that question in the list of questions that I might have to answer, and I never thought about being remembered. I don't know if I just want to, I don't know, being remembered for something. There's a lot of really talented artists out there. I don't think that I want to be remembered as like the guy who does this really well or does this really well. I think I just would want to be, for people who have to make a lot of tough choices to get where they want, I'd want to be a lighthouse for them, to show that like it's possible to do it when you're coming from far away, and not necessarily starting with the most direct path towards where you want to go. I would want to be remembered for being able to kind of make something of myself, in that way.
Oh yeah, definitely. So that would be super nice. So maybe you can start teaching more online classes, or let's see where the future will take you. And maybe before we say goodbye, you can share like last piece of takeaway or like advice, and then we will slowly finish.
Yeah. Well, that's why I like to do these interviews, and I have taught classes, and I do make myself available online for anyone who might want to reach out with a question or a portfolio review, anything like that, because as I've had my moment with artists that really inspired me, you never know when you might be that inspiration for someone else who's following a similar path as you. And that is supremely valuable. It's, one of the most important things you can do is affect, someone else in that way. So yeah, for that reason, I really like to do these things, and that's that's my goal.
Oh, perfect. So then people can look for your guidance as well, and we can put the links if that's the path they want to follow. So that would be perfect. And thank you so much again for being here.
Yeah, absolutely. You can contact me anytime. This is a blast.
Oh, thank you so much. And thanks everyone who joined today, and see you in the next episode.
Yeah.
Hey guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you being here, and if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe because I post new videos every week. I would be also super happy if you let me know your thoughts in comments and give the video a thumbs up. You can find all the resources mentioned in this episode at artsideoflife.com. Just type a guest name in the search bar. There is also a couple of free artist resources ready for you. So if you want to listen to the interviews on the go too, make sure to check out the podcast at artsideoflife.com/podcast. Continue to inspire each other, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Bye!